Welcome. I am Dr. Natanya Montez, Interim Dean of Student Affairs at College of DuPage. Thank you for joining us today for our E4 series spring kickoff for CHAPS Unite Against Racism. E4 is our shorthand for equity in economics, education, and enforcement of the law. Throughout this spring, you will see additional programs from us in partnership with DuPage County on these topics. In today's forum, we will be discussing equity in economics and support for minority-owned businesses. I am joined today by Choose DuPage President and CEO, Greg Beteloff, Innovation DuPage Board President, Joe Cassidy, and DuPage County NAACP President, Michael Childress. Michael will join us later on in the program. Welcome, panelists. I want to start off with talking about what Choose DuPage, Innovation DuPage are doing to support minority businesses. Can you each share what your organizations are doing and how you collaborate with each other?
Well, thank you, Greg, and thank you, Dr. Montez. So Innovation DuPage is joined by over 30 partner organizations from academia, industry, and government, including the 2 national laboratories. And again, we're looking to collectively support small businesses. In 2020, the BDC served some 349 minority-owned businesses, as well as 313 women-owned businesses. And at the same time, Innovation DuPage member companies were comprised of 33% women-owned businesses and about 30% minority-owned businesses. So we continue to set goals for ourselves, but we have great participation from some traditionally underserved populations.
Thanks, Joe, and thank you, Nathanya, for having me on this forum today. It's a very important topic. With respect to minority businesses in DuPage, DuPage is proud of the fact that we have a very diverse economy in terms of the types of businesses that we have, from large corporations to 2-man shops, from healthcare to manufacturing, industrial, warehousing, and distribution. But we also believe that a diverse economy in terms of ownership of those types of businesses is important. So Choose DuPage works tirelessly with all of the businesses located throughout DuPage County to make sure that they know of the opportunities that are available to them to help grow their business, to make sure that they know of incentive programs that are available to them from the state and from other local units of government, and to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help their businesses be as successful as possible. A recent example of that is working with Innovation DuPage on collaboration for what we're hoping to create within the auspices of Choose DuPage, and that's a minority business council on our board of directors. Choose DuPage is a public-private partnership. We receive our funding from DuPage County and our board members, who are the businesses that exist here in DuPage. And when we looked at our board, we thought, again, we had great representation from diversity of business, but we wanted enhanced representation from diversity of race and color and gender. And we decided the best way to go about doing that is to, number one, take a strong stance within our bylaws to make sure that we practice what we preach and we preach what we practice. And then number two, to actually go out and start recruiting some minority business owners, because Choose DuPage is the voice of business within DuPage County, and we want to make sure that all voices are heard. Lastly, I must mention, when it comes to small businesses and really micro businesses, businesses with 10 employees and 5 employees, we're proud of the fact that we administered the Reinvest DuPage program on behalf of DuPage County, which helped over 1,600 businesses located throughout DuPage with grant amounts up to $15,000 to help them survive the pandemic. A lot of minority-owned businesses are micro businesses, and while we didn't have any traditional set-asides or any traditional goals associated with awarding X dollars to minority or woman-owned businesses, we found quickly that we really almost didn't need to, because so many of the applicants were minority or women-owned businesses. And at the end of the day, we're proud that we administered a program that distributed over $20 million into the small and micro business community throughout DuPage County. So we're going to continue to work to make sure we have a focus as we come out of the pandemic and as we see a changing economy with organizations like Innovation DuPage and the college in DuPage County to make sure that we not only hear the voice of the minority business community throughout DuPage, but that we work closely on recruiting efforts and retention efforts for those businesses.
Thank you so much for that overview. So let's dive right in talking about equity issues. So what factors contribute to the equity gaps in small business ownership and performance? And how can some of the programs and initiatives that you've described help with this?
My background prior to becoming the CEO at Choose DuPage, I worked for the Illinois Tollway for a number of years, and I worked at another state agency, the Illinois Sports Facilities Authority. And I think one of the barriers for true growth within the minority business community is access to capital and the surety requirements, kind of the insurance requirements and the bonding requirements that are placed on small businesses and minority-owned businesses, to be blunt. And you're doing business with the government, and it's tax dollars at play, and there should be good oversight, there should be transparency, and there should be some level of certainty that the dollars that are being expended, those tax dollars, are being put to good use. But the simple fact is, for years, in fact, for decades, having access to that capital, having a banking network that could believe in those businesses has been a major barrier. So what we're trying to do at Choose DuPage, we have a strong network of banks that are on our board of directors. And there's a strong network of banks located throughout DuPage County. And we're working with small businesses on ways to get certified as a minority supplier, because once you're certified as a minority supplier, it removes a lot of those barriers and it makes it easier to do business. So by educating folks, because it's a daunting process to know where to go to become a certified minority supplier in the state of Illinois. There's only a handful of agencies that provide said certification. Choose DuPage is not one of them. But we have to help educate the minority business community on how they can get certified so they can have the opportunities. Secondly, sorry if you'll indulge me, but this is a passion of mine, because at the Tollway, I ran the largest diversity program in the state of Illinois, one of the largest, and I shouldn't say I ran it, we ran it. One of them is just quite simply outreach and blocking and tackling and networking, and bringing the leaders of the various minority chambers of commerce, bringing the leaders of the various trade associations that have a minority bent to them together in a room, and just informing them and educating them about the opportunities that are available for all businesses. Some municipalities, well, I shouldn't say that, the state and some other opportunities that are available for businesses come with minority goals, and that's a good thing. And knowing how to find those opportunities, simply what websites to look at, and how to put a bid together, and working with organizations like Joe's and the Small Business Development Center to help those businesses become more educated and more adept at doing that goes a long way to helping those businesses become successful.
Greg is exactly right. I think small companies frequently lack the knowledge, the know-how to navigate complex systems and processes. So the SBDC for years has been helping companies understand, how do you actually do business with the government? There's some great government contracts out there. It's big business, but small companies frequently just don't know how to navigate those systems. We can help them. We can coach them through that process. As Greg mentioned, we can also help them declare or get business certifications. If you're a women-owned business, minority-owned business, a disadvantaged business enterprise. So getting those credentials can help open doors for you, again, that you just typically won't know how to navigate if you're a small company. Innovation DuPage has added to this a whole network of mentors, really collaborating from across the region. Folks from Greg's board from big companies, a number of the banks, the national laboratories. All of these institutions want the innovation, want the change, the positive change that comes from small business entrepreneurship, but it's hard to frequently get everyone on the same page. So there's been a great move for collaboration across this region due to county leadership and institutional leadership at each of the partner organizations. And again, the end game is to give people the tools, the knowledge that they need to succeed. They've already got the idea, the great business idea. They've already, in many cases, got a successful company. But to help them take it to the next level, we've got to coordinate. And that's what is afoot right now between Choose DuPage, Innovation DuPage, the college, and all of our partners.
If I could amplify on that, we kind of call it going from owner to CEO, because so many of these micro businesses, some of these small businesses, the minority participant is the actual owner of the company. And that owner is doing things like the books and the actual labor and everything from A to Z. And there is a certain level of, I don't want to use the word contentment, but since I'm struggling to find a different one, but you have a nice little business, but you'd love to grow that business so you can kind of morph into a true CEO position and really explode the business. And that's critical to help folks kind of get over that hurdle. Oftentimes it's a challenge because now you've got to make a big investment in your business. So again, you need that access to capital if you want to take it to the next level. And now you're dealing with banks and you're dealing with loans and you're dealing with everything that goes along with that. And I think we wouldn't be doing ourselves justice if we didn't also mention veteran-owned businesses in the same breath as minority-owned businesses or service-disabled-owned businesses, because there is a classification for most state contracts and most federal contracts for veteran-owned business and service-disabled-owned businesses as well. Those folks are the reason that we're all enjoying the freedom that we enjoy, and we must work with them as well to make sure they have every opportunity to explode their business.
So Greg, let me expound a little bit on something you just mentioned in terms of this concept of going from owner to CEO. In the community, we hear a lot from people who want to get to that owner place to begin with. And so, as both of you have sort of shared, access to capital, business training, and mentorships can drive significant increases in the number of successful small businesses or startups. So what programs exist or can be developed to help provide those resources for people just starting out or at different phases in terms of their business ownership as well?
Sure. Well, obviously I think about organizations, and I don't want to steal Joe's thunder, but I think about organizations like the SBDC and I think about organizations like SCORE as two phenomenal mentoring programs. But I also think about, and again, sorry, Joe, but I am stealing your thunder. I think about what the college does when there is an opportunity to train an entire cohort of people. My goodness, ask Joe Cassidy to put a curriculum together to help somebody go from owner to CEO. And he'll say, Greg, you find me 20 people and we'll put an accredited program together for you. And it will help people from an education standpoint. It will help people from a learning standpoint. From a Choose DuPage perspective and from a DuPage County perspective, I know Chairman Cronin recently announced the creation of an ad hoc committee to start looking at disparity that exists within purchasing within DuPage County, within procurement within DuPage County. You have to be very careful. As we all know, these are litigious times that we live in, and you can't just start a diversity program without quantifying the actual need for a diversity program. And then how that is positioned and how that is vocalized becomes very important. So what we're doing at Choose DuPage is, as I mentioned, outreach through my past work experience and my work experience at Choose DuPage with the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce, with HACIA. Joe, I know we did an opportunity with HACIA, with the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, with the Federation of Women Contractors, getting these folks in a room for outreach events, which unfortunately right now, because of COVID, has been a challenge. I think we all have a little bit of Zoom fatigue, and it's hard to get true networking opportunities, going from a subcontractor to a general contractor, being the lead contractor on a transportation bid or the lead contractor on an IT bid is something that all of these small businesses are looking forward to doing. We have to help matchmake. We have to help create those opportunities for networking.
And if I could chime in, Natanya, Greg's right again that a big effort is, or an important step is connecting all these different institutions. And when it comes to the College of DuPage and Innovation DuPage, where the rubber meets the road is our programs and services. And Greg mentioned HACIA, a partnership with the Hispanic American Construction Industry Association. Last year was the first year they moved their efforts into DuPage County with Greg's help and Chairman Cronin's help. Business Solutions offered an intro to construction for folks who are employees in the industry. Innovation DuPage created a business accelerator cohort program focused specifically on owners who we want to have become the CEO. So we want them to create jobs. We want them to grow their industry and broaden and diversify the talent pool in Greater DuPage County. So now we have two programs that will continue again this year. Hopefully they'll continue for quite some time. They're open to Latinx, Black, women, and veteran-owned construction companies. And these are, 12 companies at a time getting essentially a mini MBA, learning how to navigate contracts, learning how to go through the bid process, And this is a win for the county, and it happened through great collaboration. But it's the programs that we focus on that provide tangible results. Another program that I'll mention quickly is a collaboration with ID, the Business Development Center, and then College of DuPage Adult Ed. This is a program that focused on entrepreneurs for whom English is not their first language. So we focus on helping them achieve the language skills necessary to thrive, but also on all of those business skills that come along with having a successful company. The Illinois Community College is now looking at this as a pilot program for the whole state. We've got great feedback from our owners and business owners in the first cohort. And again, we'll offer this in 2021.
And so it sounds like both of your efforts. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of growing entrepreneurship and ways in which people can connect with your organizations to make that happen?
So the two main programs within Innovation DuPage are an incubation program and an acceleration program. Incubation is both membership in a co-working space, but more importantly, it gets you access to the network of ID partners. So for instance, you get access to College of DuPage library and research folks. You get access to Northern Illinois grad students who can help you with patent law. You get access to Choose DuPage and their CEOs. So just being in that network, we connect people with people who've already been successful as entrepreneurs, people who are working with large companies or in government. But we also connect them with other entrepreneurs who are going through the same thing. And every entrepreneur we meet says it's a pretty lonely road. And so we'll have people from different industries sitting together at our headquarters, giving each other ideas on how to make the next product or service evolution. And then the accelerator program is a 3-month program. As I mentioned, it's essentially a mini MBA. It has quite a bit on finance, on marketing, business planning, how to go for traditional loans and or look for capital investments from private sources. So there, again, we focus on these programs and services. Some are short as one-on-one mentoring, weekend workshop, gatherings, but we try to bring people together and actually focus on what they're learning and give them the skills to thrive.
Right now, again, very weird times we're living in, right? We have businesses, large and small, that are, let's be honest, just trying to survive because of the pandemic, because of the lack of business travel, because of the knowledge that the business community has gained that things like Zoom and other online virtual tools are affording businesses the opportunities to work remotely, perhaps work more efficiently. I know it's driving all of us crazy, and we all long for the days when we can be in a conference room together, again, whiteboarding issues, but businesses are in business to make money, and they're learning that there's ways to make more money in a virtual world than a non-virtual world. So we decided at Choose DuPage, again, we awarded grants to over 1,600 businesses. We thought, what a perfect opportunity. These are clearly businesses that are struggling. Many, many, many of them are minority businesses. So we thought, why don't we reach out to these businesses post-grant award and ask them what the challenges are that they're facing dealing with the pandemic and what their businesses need short-term and long-term. And I won't bore you with the details, but I will tell you that the response was nearly overwhelming. And the number one thing that we heard from was, my business now has to find new markets and new opportunities. And we believe that in the COVID world, the best way to do that is via social media and the internet. And we are not as smart in those fields as we need to be. So give us your name, give us your number. And here is a litany of experts from ID, from Choose DuPage, from the College of DuPage that we're going to connect you with. And the response from the people on the other side of that equation has been remarkable because they're volunteering their efforts along the lines of a rising tide floats all boats. They don't want to see those businesses go down. Those businesses could be their customers one day. So taking lemons and making, pardon the bad metaphor, but taking those COVID lemons and turning them into lemonade to see if there's opportunities to help grow these businesses. During these times, there's no such thing as a bad idea. We just have to figure out new ways to reach these businesses.
Greg, I think you make an excellent point of how businesses are struggling during this pandemic. So when we take a look or think about minority-owned businesses, how can organizations in DuPage County invest directly into workforce and economic development efforts that are targeting underrepresented groups?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we have partners at WorkNet DuPage, and WorkNet DuPage works almost exclusively with underserved groups and um, long-term unemployed and folks that are struggling to get the certification or find their way back. And I know, Joe, again, we talk about the programs, but in terms of direct investment, there's a lot of banks out there right now that are putting programs that are investing in areas that have large minority populations or largely underserved, economically uh, growing regions throughout DuPage County. And we need to find those businesses and connect them with those banks so that they can get the access to the capital that they need. And then again, Nathania, there's just no easy way to say it. We just have to do more focus, and we just have to do more heavy lifting and recognize that this is the best solution and this is the best approach to work with those businesses and make sure that they have every opportunity to be a success. In terms of an actual program for worker skill training and certifications, uh, I'm not trying to pass the buck here. That's our friends at WorkNet DuPage that Joe and his team and we at Choose DuPage work with on a daily basis, but they'd be the real experts to ask that question, unless Joe has any.
Well, yeah, and again, I'd also say College of DuPage, but also the other 11 or 12 institutions of higher ed in our region all have a big part to play in this. And so making sure our degree programs and our non-degree programs and trainings meet the current needs. Certainly, if businesses are looking on how to have an impact on this, we invite them to partner with Innovation DuPage. Wintrust has been a great partner in sponsoring programs for small businesses. US Bank will be a generous contributor this year to the HACIA program. So I would say first take a look around. Contact Choose DuPage, contact Giving DuPage, the College of DuPage Foundation. I think frequently people with good ideas in this try to recreate the whole world and the wheel, and they don't need to do that. Reach out to these organizations we're talking about and see how they can help focus your interest, energy, and resources on an actual impact. And again, there's a lot we're doing. We're blessed in this county to have great resources, to have people who care and want to make a difference, but frequently it comes down to coordination. So reach out to us, reach out to Giving DuPage, reach out to the DuPage Foundation, and those groups will help you figure out how to have the greatest impact.
Reach out to me. I can think of 2 board members right off the top of my head, 2 board member organizations right off the top of my head that want to advance racial equity and economic equity within their own organizations and have struggled for years to do so. They know they will be better companies if they can achieve some better level of equity. And Joe, I know that you're kind of in the loop through my team on getting these companies who believe in this mission to say, bring us skilled employees and we will put them through a management program with the intent of making them competitors of ours one day. So there are organizations out there, they advertise, but oftentimes, as Joe said, it's got to be a coordinated effort to achieve that. One last point on coordinated efforts. Let's not forget, and I know Joe and I would never forget, let's not forget about our trade unions and the skilled labor opportunities that our friends at Power Forward DuPage, our friends at IBEW 701, these are just incredible training opportunities to develop a skill which can be enhanced with an educational certification or degree or program, plus a mentorship program, plus a score program to take somebody from journeyman electrician to Cassidy Electric, which I know Joe would love to open his own electrical shop one day.
You know, I was just going to say that there are a number of programs, again, at our college, I'm sure at other institutions, but the Public Service Institute is a program for municipal and county employees that was launched 2 years ago. This year's curriculum is made up of many diversity, equity, and inclusion topics. And again, Innovation DuPage holds workshops on, not just for the owners, it's for employees and employers. To Greg's point, we have companies who really want to know how to have a greater impact on improving equity and inclusion through economics, but we don't all have the skills to do that. So we'll bring together the experts to talk about how do you really look at diversity as a true strength, and get companies to understand that and know how to invite inclusion in their organization. Not just, many times we make statements, but how do you actually put things in place through your processes, your statements, your philosophies? How do you actually invite that in your organization and not just make it a statement?
Yeah, and two additional things I can point to. At Choose DuPage, we host what we call Chairman's Breakfast, where DuPage County Board Chairman Dan Cronin hosts businesses from throughout the county, and we pick a topic. And as you can imagine, one of those topics on multiple occasions has been getting the leaders of these organizations in a room, from HR to CEO to Chief Operating Officer to Diversity and Inclusion Officer, in an effort to understand from a business to business perspective, what are models that are working, what are models that are not working, and how can those models be implemented. It's been a phenomenally successful program. We hope to do more of them. Again, we used to do them face-to-face and nothing worked like face-to-face. We're now forced to do them virtually. So that's been, I don't want to say a setback, but you lose a little bit of the networking and the face-to-face when you're doing it virtually. And the second point, and I don't want to speak for the county, but I would encourage everybody who's watching this or listening to this at some point to keep your eyes on what's happening at DuPage County, because as I mentioned, the chairman has announced that he has created a group that is going to be focused on diversity and inclusion and what types of measurable programs can be implemented at the county level to help advance this cause. Now, we would all like things in government as taxpayers. We all want things to happen quicker than they traditionally happen, but these things have to be done thoughtfully, and they have to be done with the right partners, and they have to be done so that we can have a positive outcome. And I have every confidence that Chairman Cronin and the team that he's put together is going to do a phenomenal job delivering the goods on this.
And if I could, I just would say, approaching this strategically and systematically is important as well. Natanya, and I'm sure Greg knows as well, Dr. Caputo, our president, has woven with senior leadership and input from the whole college community, DEI initiatives into each of our 4 strategic pillars. So everything we do around student success, around economic development, around creating a center for arts and culture is centered around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so now we're looking at that strategically. How do we achieve success in each area? But that's our lens. That's the lens we're looking through.
Absolutely.
Good point on arts and culture too, Joe, because we need more of it in DuPage. And when you get more arts and culture, you get more diversity. And working with newly elected county board member Lynn LaPlante on with Arts DuPage and making sure that they have a seat at the table is always going to help advance that mission.
Joining us now is DuPage County NAACP President Michael Childress.
Our partnership with the College of DuPage has been really a great relationship. I like to think we probably would not be as strong as we are without the partnership and the relationship we've had. We've hosted AXO there a number of years. And not only that, many of the students that have participated in AXO has either gone on to colleges and or started small businesses. And they all attribute the nurturing that they've gotten from College of DuPage and helping them launch those entrepreneurial businesses that they've gone on and done. And some of the projects that they've worked on in college have launched small businesses, and some of them have gone on to medium to large corporations too. So the relationship between the AXO group and the College of DuPage has been very, very fruitful and very, very um, good to us, and we just are appreciative of that relationship all the time.
Wonderful. Michael, can you talk a little bit about the connection with the NAACP and Choose DuPage and Innovation DuPage in terms of the support for minority-owned businesses?
Well, one of the things that I've expressed this at the Naperville Chamber of Commerce, is that if you have a Black business, you have to have the support of the entire community. You cannot, if you're 7% of the population and only Black people support your business, you won't be in business very long. So the Choose DuPage and the College of DuPage has continually moved that market forward for us. And as like I told the city council and the Chamber of Commerce, we need support of the entire community. And they've actually helped us break down the diversity numbers to look at what our markets are in those arenas. And then you can really kind of scale back and say, is this a viable business in this community? So again, thanks to Choose DuPage, thanks to College of DuPage, we think that partnership is really good.
You really need information on the front end, and the NAACP
Absolutely.
and the Black Chamber and HACIA, if you create a program or you focus your efforts on widget making, let's say, in an effort to help out small businesses, minority owned, and there are no minority owned small business widget makers in DuPage County, you've wasted your time and you've wasted the taxpayers' dollars. So that's why, as Joe pointed out, coordination and communication between the partner agencies is so critical, so that you can craft programs where there's already the seedling, where there's already the sprout of opportunity. And rather than trying to create something, you already have something germinating that you can just help grow. I know at the Tollway, when I was there, that we kind of focused on where do we have really good minority businesses that are looking to take their business to the next level, as opposed to, hey, let's get a minority business owner to get into the heavy highway construction business. Well, getting in the heavy highway construction business costs about $100 million to do. So, you have to be very strategic in your efforts. And that's why it's so important to have communication with Michael and his team and everybody else associated with minority business groups.
Well, thank you to all three of you. This has been a very riveting conversation about equity and economics. What final thoughts would you like to share with our viewers?
From an economic development perspective and from a Choose DuPage perspective, the final thought I'd like to share is we do as much outreach via social media and every other tool humanly possible, but we know we can't reach everybody. So please, we implore people and the business community and the leaders within the minority business community to reach out to us. We are the conduit to the state of Illinois for incentive programs. We are the conduit to the Reinvest DuPage grant program. We're here to help, and we're small enough. And because we're a 501c3 and we're not truly a governmental agency, we really feel like we're nimble and we're fluid and we can ask the right questions, and we don't have to, we're always going to be transparent. We're always going to be open, but we're also just kind of feel like maybe some of the velvet handcuffs that exist in government maybe aren't on us as much as they may be others. So please, I don't mean to turn it around and put it back on the businesses, but we're here to help, and we want to help, and we want you to reach out to us, and we'll do everything we can to connect those businesses with the CEOs, with the bankers, with the lawyers, with the tech people, with the college, and whomever the right person is. That's our goal. That's our mission.
To piggyback on that, I just had a meeting before I jumped in here. I push collaborate. You can't get help from Choose DuPage if they don't know you're there. Okay, and just sometimes a spark or an idea can lead to conversations that can take you down immense avenues that you just don't know that's there. And we applaud the work that Choose DuPage does on behalf of minority businesses to help us understand the business arena, to help us move towards the right. We want to match the right businesses with the right times. Like he said, you can't start a heavy construction business if you don't A, have the resources, and B, you don't have the expertise. And maybe that's just a conversation that needs to be had.
And if I could just say, I think that, the key to economic mobility is education, training, and as both of my colleagues just said, collaboration. And we're fortunate in this area to have organizations that are committed to that. And I would tell folks, don't do it alone. Reach out to the NAACP, reach out to Choose, reach out to Innovation DuPage, College of DuPage. We have great resources that are dedicated to helping small businesses prosper. We all recognize the small business is the workhorse of the American economy, and it certainly is as well for our area here. So don't do it alone. Reach out to these great resources. You've got passionate people who want to be of service. Reach out and get that service, and then in the end, we'll all benefit from that.
I'm the proud father of 3 daughters. I don't have sons. Women are considered a minority in the business community, and I have always said that I have every expectation that my daughters will have every opportunity to be as successful in their chosen career as I have been fortunate enough to be in mine. And I think you really need people in positions of leadership that absolutely believe that. And outreach and networking and those types of things are great. But what I'm hoping, and I really believe that we should all keep our eye on what's happening at the county level, because if we can have a good disparity study and we can have some additional meat put on the bone, that winds up in an actual measurable program that's similar to other programs throughout the state, at the tollway, at IDOT, at other state agencies. Nothing speaks louder, nothing has more volume than actually saying this contract will have a woman-owned goal on it, or this contract will have a minority-owned goal on it, because that's where the rubber meets the road. Networking is great, collaboration is great, but jobs and businesses are what matters at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, let me say thank you to Joe, Greg, and Michael for participating in this discussion. The discussion will live on beyond, this panel. And I welcome all of you who are watching to continue this discussion in your community. Please stay tuned as we move forward in our equity series to focus on equity in education next month. Thank you.